kitchen. No, it's okay, kitchen. So I think we do have a menu here. Today, garlic chicken, they got some fish, you got vegetable go with it there. This is Middle East bread. This one, chocolate cookie, oatmeal cookie. They got a choice. This one.
And the detainees like the cookies?
Most of it, they like it. That's what they always request. They like to have some, you know.
Do you ever get feedback?
No. No news is good news.
When we landed at Guantanamo Bay for our prison tour, we didn't expect to see this: skate park, mini golf, and a gift shop. It was as if no one around us realized this island is home to the most notorious detention center in the world. Just a few miles from here are where the highest value detainees live. Khalik Sheikh Mohammed, the 9/11-5, and here I am at McDonald's eating a Happy Meal. Welcome to Gitmo. During the 2008 election, President Obama campaigned on the promise to close the Guantanamo Bay Detention Center, a place that had sparked widespread criticism of the Bush administration. Now, 7 years later, over 100 detainees are still there, and it doesn't look like it'll be closed anytime soon.
Ultimately, the president chose not to pursue Guantanamo because he was worried about siphoning off the precious political capital that he had, which he wanted to spend on his domestic agenda.
Daniel Klaidman is an investigative reporter who's written on the Obama administration and their handling of Guantanamo Bay.
Obama was trying to save the banking sector. He was trying to save the automobile industry. Ultimately, he was trying to get healthcare reform passed. And politicians have to prioritize.
My number one priority is keeping the American people safe. Guantanamo is probably the number one recruitment tool that is used by these jihadist organizations.
Keeping Guantanamo opening it in the first place, represented a national security threat to the United States. And that is a big part of the reason why President Obama wanted to close Guantanamo.
It could really come back to hurt its own citizens.
Absolutely, and it already has.
After years of limited access, the Department of Defense says it's more open to media now, so we went down to find out what we could actually see. We've heard so many rumors about this place. It has a horrible reputation for censoring journalists, but they have a new mission, and the public affairs officials have told us that their mission is all about transparency now. Having said that, we were very quickly told we couldn't film anyone's face.
Where you can show everything as far as personnel, neck down, not film the surroundings of the camps. If there's any layout and it gets out into the public, it'll give out too much information about how the camps are built.
The first stop was to meet Zach. He's the cultural advisor and liaison between the detainees and the guards. If the detainees have a complaint, Zach helps them report it and addresses their needs. There are some detainees who have spoken out since they've left here, ex-detainees, who have said, I was just picked up out of nowhere. I was, an innocent person. I had never been in a terrorist organization. By some twist of fate, do you think you could have had that same fate?
Anybody could be traveling anywhere, and there is a big event, and start gathering everybody, and then the sorting.
So you think there was a possibility that you could have been picked up and put in here as a detainee?
Anybody could have been.
Anybody could have been.
Anybody.
It's that
You
easy.
Could be.
Wow. Well, that sounds like some bad luck.
No, bad luck happens. Bad luck can happen to anybody.
I was pretty shocked to hear someone from the Guantanamo staff say that anyone could have ended up in a Gitmo cell. As we continued on our official media tour, we stopped at the controversial Camp X-Ray, which is where the first 20 detainees were held in 2002.
So this is the entrance to the Camp X-Ray. This is what they would arrive in the orange jumpsuits. Security concerns back then, they didn't want them running around and trying to make a break for it. One of the reasons why you see this, you see them on the ground, is these guards here, at the time, they didn't have much more than those guards. They had several people to every 20 or 30 detainees.
Were they all Muslim?
I don't have that information. I really don't. They didn't tell us who the detainees were when they got here.
The detainees lived in outdoor cells with concrete floors and exposed pipes for toilets. We had never seen these cells before. It was all under wraps and no one knew what was really happening here. Now we're seeing
we
it.
will cover that
It's just as bad as we imagined.
So this was the headquarters area. When you hear that everyone was out here in the heat, the detainees were out here in the heat sweating, so was the headquarters guys. There was no air conditioning here on camp. The only facility that did have air conditioning is on the left here, this little shack, was the guard dog facility.
So what you're saying is that the guards and detainees both had kind of similarly bad conditions, but the guard dogs got the AC.
Oddly enough, the guard dogs did get the AC, yes. But
so what's best though for the guard dogs?
Of the first 20 detainees that were here, 9 have been released, 3 more are cleared for release, 1 is a convicted war criminal, 3 are Taliban, the others are being held indefinitely. We were then taken to Camp 5, and we were looking forward to actually seeing the type of cells detainees live in today.
Welcome to Camp 5, Camp Delta's 100-bed maximum security detention facility. It cost approximately $17.5 million to construct. It was put on a barge, brought down here, and placed together like Lego blocks. I house anywhere from near 60 to 70 detainees on a daily basis.
We were told each detainee in Camp 5 is given 95 square feet of living space, along with basic items ranging from toothpaste to toilet paper. Detainees that follow the rules here get the above items. Those who don't get the below.
Every detainee here in Camp 5 is either on a 1 to 3 minute check. That means every 1 or 3 minute, a guard is looking directly into the cell, assessing the detainee, and also for accountability purposes.
Would you say that these camps here...
outside the window?
Sure.
Some detainees were as young as 13 when captured. One detainee turned 89 as a prisoner here. They're from 48 different countries, and according to the government, 92% are not Al-Qaeda fighters. We've read all about horrible conditions with guards coming into a cell and aggressively beating detainees, Qurans being taken away, or, force feeding. Is that anything that you've witnessed or you've heard about?
Definitely not. I would say we have one of the most professional guard force that I've ever seen. And allegations like that definitely, to me, have no leg to stand on, having worked in there for so long.
Have you had any experience with Islam before coming here? Have you had prior deployments?
No, not at all. No, I'm, southern part of the United States. I never really experienced anything with that.
Have you made an effort to learn anything about the religion?
Well, we have courses we take. We respect these guys, and we're as professional as we can be.
So do you feel like you have an understanding of the religion?
Understanding? No. I wouldn't say understanding.
All right, that is it, guys.
Okay.
Gentlemen, welcome to Camp 6. I'm the Camp 6 OIC, and I'll be guiding you through the facility today. To begin, Camp 6 was constructed in 2006 at the original cost of $37 million. It's designed and modeled after a medium security correctional facility in the state of Michigan. This facility has 8 blocks, 4 of which currently house the detainees. We are the largest detainee camp within Guantanamo Bay.
This is where the most cooperative detainees live.
Detainees are monitored 24/7 at all times, whether in the individual cells or in the common area.
Sorry, but why is that necessary?
Well, that's part of our mission, is the safety and security and the care and custody of the detainees. So we have to make sure while they're in our care and custody, we're monitoring them at all times.
We stopped by the Camp 6 library, which has a varied mix of everything.
Oh, you got fresh prints.
Yes.
Are there any books that, or any types of books that are banned in here?
I wouldn't say banned, but there's a screening process. So anything that's like a radical type ideals,
like an extremism book,
or militant books, anything that you wouldn't expect to see in a camp such as this, to incite unrest with the detainees. I don't know specific.
Let's move on because,
can I just ask
like
a
you said,
yeah.
Just reiterate this. He's responsible for the storage and the maintaining of the books. He does not say yes or no what comes in and out of the facility. So asking him about certain books is, at this point, beating a dead subject. So
it seemed harmless enough asking what type of books detainees aren't allowed to read. But again, we were interrupted. Next, we walked over to the medical clinic where officers treat detainees' basic illnesses. Is there some sort of barrier between you medical professionals and the detainees in the sense of, for a non-compliant detainee who needs to come to you, how do you stay safe?
They're shackled when they come in. There's always 2 guards with them. And then when they come in for their appointments, you can see in the room.
So what about the non-compliant detainees? When they come to you, how are they brought over here? How does that work?
We can't give that out because you're asking operational procedures and we don't.
Well, no one is forced to come here. So that's probably, in my opinion, there's no reason to answer that question. If they don't want to be seen, they're not seen.
I was again surprised that my rather boring line of questioning was interrupted. We were hurried along to the next stop. The senior medical officer brought us to where they do the force feeding, or enteral feeding. Just last year, over 100 detainees were refusing to eat. American doctors and health specialists have urged the military to end the practice. What's the general demeanor of detainees when they come in here to be enterally fed?
Well, for a lot of them, they will absolutely come in and have the tube placed without a problem. They might sometimes refuse meals, or they might just drink the calories
straight out of the can.
Straight out of the can. I had a tube placed when I got here. I had them do it to me.
What's it feel like when the insure is actually going down?
Well, that part I didn't actually do, but...
One man said he felt like he died each time he was fed. Another said he repeatedly vomited blood after a feeding. How many detainees are you force feeding right now?
So obviously, I'm sure you've heard this before, but certainly against policy now to discuss any sort of numbers at all.
It's just kind of weird because for 9 months you've been giving out numbers every day and all of a sudden it stopped.
Wow. You can ask the question 20 different ways, you're going to get the answer the same as you have all week. So my recommendation would be just to allow the senior medical officer to finish the tour because we're actually moving into time.
We respected the security parameters going into the camps, though we couldn't help but wonder whether that was the real reason for shutting off our cameras, deleting footage, trailing us in large numbers, and interrupting questions.
So we're walking through Camp 5 right now. This is where...
It's gotta go off.
Did I not have it on when I was in here a minute ago then?
We finally got our first glimpse of detainees, and by that point, we were cruising on thin ice. When we set up for this shot, there were at least 10 guards standing right behind the camera and staring right at me.
So we're on our tour in Camp 6 right now, and right on the other side of this door is where some of the highly compliant detainees are. They're in their communal area. Looks like they're hanging out, having some apple juice, watching some TV.
As you can see, some of the communal items that they're afforded, they have TVs in each block. You can see some of where the meals come in, clamshells. They got Nintendo DS players, individual DVD players, so this is their charging station right over here.
Are you able to tell us what they're in here for?
No, I cannot tell you that.
Can you tell us where the high-value detainees are?
No, I cannot tell you that, ma'am.
Okay, obviously we're getting away from the questions on Camp 6, so I guess that'll be the end of the tour.
Okay.
We finished the tour and didn't get to, I don't think, see what the inside of those camps actually look like. We were trying to be careful, but still trying to get the real story, the real facts of what's going on in there. They're asking us to get out of here. What would it take to close the detention center?
The toughest issue is the 40 some odd detainees who are being held indefinitely. No other country wants to take them. We can't repatriate them to certain countries. They can't be prosecuted, either because there isn't evidence or that evidence has been tainted. So the only choice really was to bring them to the United States. And that was something that President Obama wanted to do. Over time, Congress began passing laws prohibiting the transfer of these prisoners, or frankly, any prisoners from Guantanamo, to the United States.
For the last stop on the tour, we visited the commander of the entire JTF Gitmo, Admiral Richard Butler. We wanted to know more about the people he keeps locked up and how living at Gitmo has affected them.
Can you understand their protests?
Yes. Yeah, we're detaining them against their will. So absolutely.
And do you think justly?
Justly, legally, yes, I think we are. Yeah.
What do you think the lasting effects are on detainees who have been transferred to other countries?
I have no way to tell. Really don't. We'll just have to wait and see.
Did you find out how they're doing?
No. Yeah.
When we visited Guantanamo Bay, we had hoped to get a feel for what life is like for its detainees. But our very restricted tour raised more questions than answers.
Are you able to tell us what they're in here for?
No, I cannot tell you that, ma'am.
Obviously, we're getting away from the questions on Camp 6, so I guess that'll be the end of the tour.
Okay.
So we were determined to find someone who had been inside and could share their story with us. After contacting about 30 former detainees, we finally found one who would speak with us on camera.
We just got to Sarajevo, Bosnia to meet with Mustafa Ait-Ider. He's a former Guantanamo detainee who was there for about 7 years. And we just came to hear a firsthand perspective of what it was like to be there.
When somebody is getting out from his country for a long time, it's very hard to come back again. It's very hard.
Mustafa was captured in October 2001 by Bosnian authorities on suspicion of conspiring to blow up the U.S. Embassy in Sarajevo. He was acquitted shortly after, but then in January 2002, he was transferred to American troops at a NATO base in Sarajevo before being sent to Gitmo.
I would imagine that your idea of America has changed over time given your experience at Guantanamo. But what do you remember about America growing up?
Ja znam Amerika kroz filmovi samo. To su glumci. Naravno, kad sam odrastao malo, možda sam znao da je to Amerika između, ne kažem između, to je najveća država. Šesti ekonomija, šesti oružja, šesti... Ali kad sam došao iz Guantanamo, sam promijenio mišljenje skroz. Imam druga mišljenja u Esti. Kad smo stigli tamo, oni su nas ostavili na zemlje gdje ima kamenac zagradnija i goli. Oni su nam skinuli sve što imamo na naše tijelo. I sjedili smo na zemlji na neki položaj koji stvarno bio puno teško. Znači, niti čovjek može mrtat, niti može pričat, niti može samo na neki položaj, stvarno, to je neki kažnjavanje. Mi koristimo neki kanta za okupatilju, znači nama daju dvije kanta, jedna za okupatilju, daju za korističku okupatilju, a druga za vode, da piriš da se.
What were the guards like there?
Ne mogu da vam objasnim to kako je bilo i kako su s nama ponašali. Oni su nam ponašali gore nek životinje. Znači nisu ni životinje, da je životinje bi bilo tako gore ljudi s njima ponašali na takav način. Ima jedno mjesto, oni su mi izbacili su mi iz moje ćelije napoli pa su mi ustavili na ono, a mi su vizali ruke iza leđa, i ruke i noge iza leđa, a jedan od tih vojnika on je skočio kolinom na moju stranu, vamo su stranu. Onda su uzeli šlauf, jednu veliki šlauf su ga ostavili mi u usta i otvorili su vode. Onda kad nisam mogu disati to, pa su ga zvali, mogu disati stvarno, samo voda ulazi u tijelo. Mimo koje su vojsko, oni psuju i udaraju tu. Ja stvarno sam bio skoro nesvjestan zbog udaraca, oni što mi udaraju kolinom u glav. I nakon toga kako bi udaranja, kad su mi udarili, ja sam ustao nekoliko dana paralizovan. Glava mi je bila čitava, pola strana, lijeva strana nisam, sad ne funkcioniše nikako. Apsolutno, kaže, nije humanity, nema
They say that you're accused of being affiliated with Al-Qaeda, associated with armed Islamic group, plotting to travel to Afghanistan to join jihad, planning to blow up the U.S. Embassy in Sarajevo. Is any of that true?
There is any logic, and I say, if I go from Bosnia, thousands and thousands of kilometers to go to Afghanistan, to fight, it's impossible. Ja pitam jedno koji su došli te istražitelja koji nas pitaju iz FBI, iz CIA. Pitam njega, rekao sam, hoću da mi kažeš zašto sam ovdje, šta ja radim ovdje u Guantanamo? Kaže, zašto su vas sudili u Bosni i Hercegovini? Rekao sam, u Bosni i Hercegovini svaki put meni kažu, jednom kažu ti si Taliban, drugi put kažu Al-Qaeda, pa kažu ti si terorist, kako svaki meni spomenu nešto drugo. Onda sam njima rekao, zato što vi kažete to zbog informacija, rekao sam, dan danas nećete čuti od meni ni jedne riječi, ni jedan odgovor. I baš tako, nije bio ni jedan odgovor, nisam ih odgovorio dok nisam izašao iz Guantanama.
Where appropriate, we will bring terrorists to justice in our courts and our military justice system.
As President Obama continues to talk about Guantanamo Bay, the impact of the controversial facility continues to reverberate around the world. And it's not just detainees that have been affected by their time at Gitmo. We traveled to Phoenix, Arizona to meet up with Terry Holbrooks. He's a former Guantanamo guard who says his time there changed him completely.
When you walk into Camp Delta, the first thing that will hit you, that will overpower you and stop you in your tracks, is the smell of Camp Delta. You have 780 men from 46 different countries all around the world that are sweating upon their sweat, cooking in metal cages 24 hours a day.
It's hard to believe this is the same guy who was a guard at Gitmo. Something very extreme must have happened there for him to now be leading a lecture at a masjid in the middle of Phoenix, Arizona.
I decided, if I've got all the freedom in the world and I'm miserable and these guys are gonna die in a cage and they believe that God cares about them, maybe I should learn about Islam.
Since Terry was honorably discharged in October 2005, he's received a degree from Arizona State University in sociology, written a book, and has become a public voice in the movement to close Gitmo.
We have to be out there, we have to be vigilant. Why don't more Muslims condemn terrorism? Why don't we actively speak about how that is wrong? Why don't we actively speak about how this is not Islam? I think it's because many Muslims don't necessarily understand that they have the power to do that they're capable of doing that. I think they're afraid. You have the right to freedom of speech. You have the right to assembly. Use it.
I sat down with Terry to see what led to his dramatic change from prison guard to anti-Guantanamo activist. What was your training like before you went to Guantanamo?
Less than adequate, unfortunately. We trained in Fort Dix, New Jersey, which doesn't have a correctional facility. So we used the manual for Fort Knox, which holds money. So they trained me real well how to guard money, not people. I think anytime that there was 3 soldiers or more gathered together, somebody in our chain of command was telling us, do not be complacent in Guantanamo. It's the worst of the worst. It's the Taliban, it's Al-Qaeda. They will kill you in a split second. They hate you, they hate freedom. We heard this every day in and day out, over and over and over. Our commander had arranged for us to go and visit Ground Zero on our way to Guantanamo. So we're walking around the rubble and we're seeing the pictures and the candles. And he gets us together and he tells us, when we get down to Guantanamo, men, remember the 3,000 lives that we lost here. When we get to Guantanamo, remember what Islam did to us here. Looking back on it, it was just good programming.
How would you describe the other guards? What were their personalities?
We had some guards that genuinely believed the propaganda that they were told and wanted to abuse the detainees and harm them. We had some guards that thought that it was best to just kill all the detainees. They were getting upset about the fact that we even had detainees. Just kill them. Why are we wasting our money on this? And then we had those that, you could look at them, you could tell they were Eagle Scouts. They were just taking the mission seriously. They did their job seriously by the book.
What is the worst that you saw? Did you see any force feeding, any interrogation?
Guards using detainees' heads to open doors, guards stepping on detainees' hands and feet and breaking bones, putting their heads in the toilet. It was awful. There was a lot of horrible things that I saw down there.
Terry brought us to his local gun range, where he goes about 3 times a month.
Aside from being a strong advocate of the Second Amendment, Elena and I both feel that it's smart to have a firearm in the home to protect yourself.
Terry says his speaking out about Gitmo has led to numerous death threats. Is there any part of you that feels I should have a gun at my house because people have made death threats? That's a very serious thing.
No, I sincerely don't think that there's anybody out there who would be willing to go through with what they've claimed that they want to do. Many people hide behind their keyboard. They feel safe behind their keyboard, but if you were to confront them in real life, all that false sense of security and testosterone dissipates quite quickly.
Did I hit anything?
I don't believe so.
What's your well-being like? How are you doing?
What is it you're fishing for?
I'm not fishing for anything, but I do want to focus on the lasting effects of Gitmo.
Everybody who goes to Guantanamo essentially loses. Guards, detainees, interrogators, linguists, everybody. Nobody leaves there a winner. Nobody leaves there happy.
At what point do you move past those side effects, or do you ever?
I don't know when you ever do. I don't know if you ever do. I'm gonna shoot now.
Okay.
As president, I have tried to close Gitmo. I transferred 67 detainees to other countries before Congress imposed restrictions to effectively prevent us from either transferring detainees to other countries or imprisoning them here in the United States. These restrictions make no sense.
What is the legacy that America leaves behind with this operation?
We succumbed to our fears, and in doing so, restricted liberty in a fundamental way, in the same way that we did during World War II when we opened up internment camps for Japanese Americans. Unfortunately, it's a pattern that repeats itself, and I suspect always will. And so we have to learn to live with it and learn from it, and try not to repeat it.
I've spent the last 5 years of my life talking about Guantanamo, and it feels as if it is a fruitless endeavor. Despite all of the efforts that are made by the numerous organizations, all of the facts and statistics that point to it being a mistake upon our part, it just seems to be amounting to nothing. I don't think anybody ever imagined that the United States would have a secret prison like this and would be torturing people and holding people indefinitely, and everything that makes this country America, we're not exemplifying it in Guantanamo. I don't think anybody ever envisioned that would be something that would be a reality. It looks like we're embarking upon a very dark future.
Library, they got music, books, and DVDs.
That's the Camp OIC and all the leadership. We're here for the guards and leaders.
But again, it's not something that is done.
They get mad at you whenever you uphold that standard.
Do you like your job?
Oh, I love my job.
That is everything the same, so when I take the request.
Okay, so show me how.
Yeah, just a leg and pop. See?
Okay.
Oh, you look like from Navy.
Yeah? Thank you.